Over the past 8 years, I have learned that opening up about my experiences, especially my struggles, is what builds connection, trust, and gives hope to others. It required me to shed my perfectionism and not giving a shit about what other people think. When the kids were in elementary school, I totally exhausted myself in presenting myself and my kids to other moms and how I thought I was supposed to be, how I thought I was supposed to look and act. And in hindsight, it was really armor to protect myself against blame or shame. Welcome to the Midlife Wife Podcast, where we choose to rise with courage and successfully disrupt mediocrity to live insanely significant lives that light us up, while possibly still in our yoga pants with 3-day-old hair. Are you with me? Hey, I'm Katie Hallberg, top 20% realtor, turned real estate investor and broker, a top 6% network marketer, certified personal trainer, and lover of all things from the personal growth, nutrition, and health and wellness departments. I believe when we get out of our own way and let God show up, that's where the magic happens. I'm so grateful that you're here. Let's dig into reviving your mind, body, and dreams. It is not the critic who counts, not the man who points out how the strong man stumbles or where the doer of deeds could have done better. The credit belongs to the man who is actually in the arena, whose face is marred by dust and sweat and blood, who strives valiantly, who errs and comes up short again and again, because there is no effort without error or shortcoming, but who knows the great enthusiasms, the great devotions, who spends himself for a worthy cause, who, at the best, knows in the end the triumph of high achievement, and who, at the worst, if he fails, at least he fails while daring greatly, so that his place shall never be with those cold and timid souls who knew neither victory nor defeat. Theodore Roosevelt's quote. I had this quote on my refrigerator for probably 2 years before I heard the name Brene Brown. And I heard her share it at the Texas Conference for Women in the Austin Convention Center in October 2012. And up until that moment, I had no idea who Brene Brown was. I have been following her work and reading her books ever since. I am both surprised and delighted when I get to introduce her work to others. Surprised everyone doesn't already know her and her work, duh. Especially here in Texas. She's a Texas gal, and I'm delighted that I get to make the introduction. Brene Brown is a shame and vulnerability researcher at the University of Houston. She's a speaker, she's an author, she's now a podcaster. She rose to the public eye after her TED Talk at TEDx Houston went viral, and I will be sure to put a link in the show notes for you guys. But her work and digging in to shame, vulnerability, connection, courage has really made a pivot for me. 10 years ago, my kids were 4, 7, and 9, and I was living this life that was stressful and a struggle, just what I thought I was supposed to be doing. Pleasing, perfecting, showing up to the elementary school, trying to be on top of it, trying to make sure I had filled all the paperwork in for the kids' classes. They dressed well. They had the healthy lunches. And like, who was I freaking kidding? Like, that was showing up to, I guess, like fear of failure, fear of not fitting in, fear of rejection, trying to make new friends, trying to connect, trying to have my kids make friends, and just trying to present the best to the world. And let me tell you, if you are in that rat race, it is exhausting. It's not authentic. And there's such a better way. And the better way is called vulnerability. Vulnerability, I heard in my yoga class this Sunday, is the sail Willingness is the wind and trust is the boat. And when we can show up and live authentic lives and share our stories, it creates beautiful connection with other people, because all of us are struggling. All of us have deep, dark secrets and stories and weird thoughts in our heads, and all of us want to belong, and all of us want to connect with another person. And when we are so armored up in perfectionism and looking the part and being the best, we become unapproachable. Our armor keeps us in and it keeps other people out. And there's no connection and there's no growth. And when I started unraveling all of those things in my life and show up in social media, show up in one-on-one relationships authentically and sharing my struggles, not only does it help me live in alignment with God and my Creator and in this beautiful thing I call flow, it also allows other people to do the same. When they see you struggle and fall, when they see you not get it right and stumble and get back up and try again, when you have the courage to be in what Theodore Roosevelt called the arena, you inspire other people. These arenas can be big. Like, it was big for me to be in the arena of transitioning my oldest child as a transgender male. That was a big arena to be in. And I could have kept quiet about it and sat with myself and hidden in that. But I chose to choose, as Brene Brown says, I chose courage over comfort, and to share that story on social media. And again, people come to me every week, needing that connection, needing that hope. Yeah, it's scary because I still fear rejection when I share my stories, whether it's just a private conversation or out there in social media, but it builds this community for others and for myself. Another time I've done that is with alcohol and the struggle I have had being a child and an alcoholic, and then seeing that as my numbing, avoiding armor in my life to an abusive point. Again, when you share it out there in the world, people relate to it and it helps other people. In Forbes magazine, they interviewed Brene Brown and they were talking about perfectionism, which is just like totally a self protection mechanism, I think. And it says perfectionism is very different than self-improvement, right? We think, oh, we'll just like be perfect. It's not self-improvement. Perfectionism at its core is about trying to earn approval. Most perfectionists grew up being praised for achievement and performance, like your grades, your manners, saying yes, ma'am, no, sir, following the rules, pleasing people, your appearance, and in sports. So just think about that and what you're doing to your kids. But then somewhere along the way, the article continues, they adopted this dangerous and debilitating belief system. I am what I accomplish and how well I accomplish it. Please perform. Be perfect. So healthy striving is self-focused. How can I improve? Perfectionism, on the other hand, is other-focused. What will they think? Perfectionism is hustle. The definition of a vulnerability is uncertainty, risk, and emotional exposure. But vulnerability is not weakness. It is the most accurate measure of courage. When the barrier is our belief about vulnerability, the question becomes, are we willing to show up and be seen when we can't control the outcome? When the barrier to vulnerability is about safety, the question becomes, are we willing to create courageous spaces so we can be fully seen? Oh my gosh. She also writes that vulnerability is the birthplace of love, belonging, joy, courage, empathy, and creativity. It is the source of hope, empathy, accountability, and authenticity. If we want greater clarity in our purpose, our deeper or meaningful spiritual lives, vulnerability is the path. It is also indicated that vulnerability is the core of all emotions and feelings. Oh my gosh, that is from Daring Greatly, her book, Daring Greatly, How the Courage to Be Vulnerable Transforms the Way We Live, Love, Parent, and Lead by Dr. Brene Brown. Oh my gosh. So what are some examples of vulnerability? And these are can be just super small, like saying no. It's listening to that core of you when you can channel in you and turn away from old belief systems that maybe you have been ingrained, and we all have beliefs that aren't necessarily in alignment with who we are. Like we've been taught beliefs, and we have, whether it's religious, cultural, financial, spiritual, relational, and just saying no might be hard for a lot of people. Vulnerability is also asking for help. Like, I need help. And, I'm such a stubborn person. I'm a Taurus. I'm an Enneagram 3, which means I'm an achiever. Just asking for help that I don't understand something is vulnerable. Standing up for yourself, that's vulnerability. Initiating sex with your partner. Calling a friend whose child has just died, Brene says, is vulnerability. Like, you just don't know the words to say. But having the courage just to show up and just say, I don't know what to say, but I'm here with you. Getting fired, falling in love, exercising in public, especially when you don't know what you're doing and you're out of shape. That's vulnerability. Admitting you're afraid, being accountable, laying off employees. These are all examples she gives for vulnerability. And what does it feel like? What are the feelings that are associated once you are vulnerable and you're feeling vulnerable and you're leaning into that and your heart's opening and you have sensations in your stomach and a sense of freedom, and then fear is knocking on the back door? Here's a couple of examples that are in her book, Daring Greatly. It includes, like, vulnerability feels like not sucking it in anymore. Just exercise with a jog bra and the shirt off. It feels like sweaty palms and a racing heart. It feels like taking off a straitjacket. It's where courage and fear meet. It feels like taking the first step to what you fear the most. The terrifying point on a roller coaster when you're about to tip over the edge and take the plunge. And it feels so awkward and scary, but it makes me feel human and alive. Can y'all relate to any of those? Have you ever even thought about vulnerability? I've come to realize that when learning to embody vulnerability, it's important to be aware of vulnerability when it arises in the present moment. Accept it and be kind to myself. Have self-compassion. It means, for me, recognizing when I'm hiding. Recognizing in that midlife moment with all those kids, the 10 years ago, when I had a 4-year-old, a 7-year-old, and a 9-year-old, and I was trying to show up and be perfect. And when I just realized it doesn't matter, when I released the belief system that that was the way I was supposed to be, and decided that just be who I am and follow my inner self and follow what God and my creator and universe and whatever you call that knowing within, and speak it. I knew I needed to be vulnerable when I could tell I was hiding, when I was shrinking, when I was numbing, when I was covering, when I would have anger, when it wouldn't be perfect, when everything wasn't just aligned quite so. Those are some signs for me that I needed to pause, notice those warning signs, and maybe step into some vulnerability. Okay, I hope you learned something about vulnerability. I really want to encourage you to try it out. Try it on. It's like a new dress that you can pick up at the store, a little vulnerability. But I want to guide you in that. Do it with a trusting person. Not every story and deep thought is to share with just anybody. Share with a trusted girlfriend. Share with a trusted spouse, partner, and let them know it's hard for you to share it. Tell them ahead of time that this is a little bit hard for me, but I need to share this. Write it out maybe before you speak it, but put it on for size. Try some vulnerability testing. Don't just go blast all your deepest, darkest secrets on the internet and on social media, because that can be a really scary thing and it's not always necessary. Also, make sure that it's your stuff. It's not other people's stuff that you're sharing, that you are sharing someone else's story. If it's like a relationship issue, if it's, maybe a body image issue, that it's your stuff. You're not blaming, oh, my parents always called me fat all the time, or don't place the blame, or my husband cheated on me. That's their stories, not yours. So make sure it's your story. That's really good. And have some courage. It feels so good to just release some of these inner holdings. We're midlife now. We don't have to hold on to all this stuff anymore. We get to live authentically and not worry so much about what other people care. And as I've always loved since I first heard this saying from a speaker and motivational author and former television star Rita Davenport, other people's opinion of you is none of your business. Thank you so much for listening. I hope I got to introduce a few of you to Brene Brown's work. Be sure to look it up. She has her own website, brenebrown.com. That's Brene, Brene, brown.com. Y'all, that was episode 11. That's right. I have produced 11 podcast episodes, and I want to thank you so much for listening, subscribing, rating, reviewing. It means the world to me. I hope you're enjoying the show. Thanks again. Hey, I want to pop in right here for a minute and remind you that I'm offering you a free trial to Audible. Audible is my go-to source for all things books. There's even wonderful things like morning meditations and freebies that they give away. And you can get a free month for an Audible trial. Go to audibletrial.com/Katie Hallberg and download a book. Download some free stuff. You can have it just right there on an app on your phone. I love it. I listen to Audible while I'm driving, while I'm doing laundry, while I'm folding laundry, while I'm cooking dinner. I often just pop the little earbuds in and listen to Audible. So be sure to get a free trial. You will not regret it. Again, the website you need to go to is audible.com/Katie Hallberg, and you can have a free trial. Now, before you go, if you found value in today's episode, if you connected with something or felt inspired in any way, pretty please take a screenshot for me and post it up in your Instagram and Facebook stories, and be sure to tag me, because together we can inspire, encourage, and empower others to live amazing, intentional lives. Yes, we can. Let's do it.